The invitation arrived in a plain black envelope. No return address. Just a single card with silver lettering. 10 years later, the lake house. Tonight at midnight. Emma stared at the card, her fingers trembling slightly. 10 years, for a whole decade, they had all tried to forget that horrific night. The night the dark, freezing water of the lake swallowed their deepest secret. But some things simply refused to stay buried forever. The rain was relentless, drumming a chaotic, aggressive rhythm against the windshield as Emma drove up the winding, abandoned mountain road. The old lakeside villa stood exactly as it had a decade ago, dark, imposing, and completely isolated from the rest of the world. As she stepped inside, the heavy oak door groaned loudly behind her. They were already there, waiting in the dim light. Mark, now a successful corporate lawyer in a sharp, expensive suit, was pouring whiskey with a hand that shook just a little too much. Chloe, always the glamorous and beautiful one, was nervously scrolling through her phone, despite the total lack of cellular service in this remote area. And David, the quiet poet who had turned into a cynical, bitter recluse, sat near the fireplace, staring blankly into the dancing flames. "Look who finally decided to join our little funeral," Mark said, raising his glass. His voice was loud, but his eyes were completely hollow. "The gang is all here, just like the old times." "Is this a joke, Mark?" Emma asked, her voice tight, refusing to take off her wet coat. "Who sent these invitations? Why are we here?" "We thought you did," Chloe whispered, hugging herself tightly. "Or David. No one in this room is admitting to it. But we all came anyway. Because none of us had the courage to ignore it. We are all terrified of what happens next." David suddenly spoke up, his voice cutting through the loud crackle of the fire. "We came because we are guilty, and fear is a very powerful motivator. We wanted to see who would break first after all these years." Before anyone could argue, a loud, artificial ping echoed through the large room. It did not come from their personal phones. It came from the exact center of the dust-covered dining table. A brand-new, modern smartphone was sitting there, completely out of place. Its screen was glowing brightly in the dim room. Mark approached it slowly, as if approaching a venomous snake ready to strike. He picked it up with 2 fingers. The screen displayed a single, active, anonymous chat window. "Read it out loud, Mark," Emma said, her heart hammering violently against her ribs. Mark cleared his throat. It says, "Welcome back, dear friends. 10 years ago, you made a terrible choice. You chose cold silence over the truth. Tonight, the game ends. Look inside the grandfather clock. You have exactly 60 seconds." Chloe gasped loudly. Mark dropped the phone onto the table. For a second, no one moved. The countdown had already begun on the bright screen. 59, 58, 57. David slammed his fist against the wall. "Move! Now! Open it!" They rushed to the ancient, dark grandfather clock in the corner of the room. Mark pulled the heavy wooden door open with a loud screech. Inside, resting where the heavy pendulum should have been swinging, was a small, high-definition digital camera. Its small red recording light was blinking steadily. Blink, blink, blink. Beside the camera was a small, handwritten note. Emma snatched it and read it, her voice cracking with pure terror. Smile. You are currently streaming live to an online audience of 3 million people. The doors are locked from the outside. If anyone tries to break a window, the full truth about Sarah's tragic death will be automatically sent to the police. To survive the night, you must confess. Who pushed her?
The room went dead silent. The only sound left was the howling wind outside and the faint digital ticking of the phone on the table. They looked at the camera, then at each other. The trap was sprung, and the ultimate nightmare had just begun.
This is absolute madness! This is completely illegal! Mark shouted, pointing a trembling finger at the blinking camera lens. He grabbed his wet coat, marching toward the heavy entrance door. He grabbed the brass handle and pulled with all his might. The heavy oak door didn't even budge. It was completely locked from the outside, solid as a brick wall. Chloe ran to the large bay window overlooking the dark, stormy lake. She lifted a heavy metal chair, ready to smash the thick glass. "Stop, Chloe, don't do it!" Emma screamed, lunging forward to grab her shaking arm. "Did you not read the note? If we break the glass, the stream automatically sends the original video file to the police, the file from that night. If that happens, we all go to prison for the rest of our lives." Chloe dropped the chair. It hit the wooden floor with a loud, echoing thud. She collapsed into it, burying her face in her cold hands. "But who has that video? We deleted it!" "We swore on our lives that we all deleted it from our phones before the police even arrived 10 years ago. Who kept a copy?" David slowly turned his head away from the fire, his eyes fixing directly on Mark. "Well, why don't we ask our brilliant legal mind? Mark, you were the one who handled the situation back then. You told us exactly what to say to the investigators. You told us to say Sarah slipped on the wet pier. Did you keep the footage as a little insurance policy?" Mark violently stepped toward David, grabbing him by the collar of his sweater. "Watch your mouth, poet! I saved your pathetic life. If the police knew we were all high and racing cars on the private property that night, we would have been locked up before graduation. I didn't keep anything." "Stop it, both of you!" Emma intervened, physically pushing them apart. She felt a cold sweat dripping down her spine. "Look at the phone. The viewer count is rising. It says 3.5 million now. And there is a chat moving so fast I can't even read it. People are watching us right now. They think this is a highly produced reality show or a horror movie promotion." Another sharp ping cut through their argument. Emma slowly walked to the table and picked up the phone. A new message had appeared from the anonymous host. "The audience is getting bored. Let us play a game of honesty. Each of you will stand in front of the camera and state your relationship with Sarah. Tell the chat what you hid from the police. If you lie, a piece of evidence drops. You have 2 minutes for the first confession. Let us start with the lawyer." Mark backed away, his face turning completely pale, losing all its color. "No, I can't. My firm, my reputation. I am about to become a senior partner next week. This will destroy my entire life. If you don't step up there, Mark, the police will be here in 20 minutes, David said, his voice completely devoid of emotion. "Go on. Tell the world what a good friend you were to Sarah." Mark swallowed hard, adjusting his wrinkled tie. He walked over to the grandfather clock, standing directly in front of the small, blinking red eye of the camera. He cleared his dry throat twice, trying to find his commanding courtroom voice, but it failed him completely. My name is Mark, he began, looking down at his shoes. 10 years ago, I was with Sarah. The truth is, we were having a secret affair. She was pregnant. She threatened to tell my wealthy fiancé everything if I didn't leave her. I had everything to lose. The phone buzzed violently in Emma's hand. A new message popped up, making her blood run absolutely ice cold. "Mark," Emma whispered, her voice barely audible over the roaring storm outside. The phone just updated. The message says, "Partial truth. Mark wanted her gone, but he didn't push her. However, he did steal her diary from her bedroom before the police arrived to cover his tracks." Chloe stood up, her eyes wide with anger. "You stole her diary? You told us you went to her room to look for her medication. You liar! You covered up your own tracks while we were all panicking." "I had to," Mark screamed back, tears of frustration finally welling up in his eyes. "If the police found that diary, I would have been the prime suspect for murder. But I swear to God, I didn't touch her on that pier. I was inside the house pouring drinks when it happened." The phone beeped again. "Correct. Mark is safe for now. Next up, Chloe." Chloe shook her head violently, backing away until her spine hit the cold stone of the fireplace. "No, I won't do it. I won't let those people judge me. Turn it off. Please, just break the window. I don't care about prison anymore." David stepped in front of her, blocking her escape route. "Go, Chloe. We are already exposed. Millions of people are watching our sins. Tell them what you did to Sarah. Tell them why she was crying on the pier before she fell." Chloe slowly walked to the grandfather clock. She couldn't even look into the camera. She stared at the floor, her shoulders shaking uncontrollably. I was jealous of her," Chloe sobbed, her voice cracking into the microphone of the hidden camera. "Sarah was beautiful, smart, and everyone loved her. I was the one who leaked those horrible edited photos of her to the entire university network. I wanted to destroy her reputation. That night on the pier, I told her it was me. I wanted to see her cry. I wanted to break her spirit entirely." Emma checked the screen immediately. The chat was erupting into absolute chaos. Words like monsters, guilty, and lock them up were flying across the interface at lightning speed. The phone buzzed. "Chloe speaks the truth. She broke Sarah's heart, but she did not break her neck. Next up, David." David didn't wait. He didn't hesitate. He walked directly to the camera with a strange, eerie calm on his face that made Emma's stomach turn. He looked straight into the lens, a faint, twisted smile appearing on his lips. "I loved her," David said softly, his voice smooth and steady. "But she rejected me. She called me a creep. She said my poems made her skin crawl. That night I followed her to the pier. I saw her crying because of what Chloe said. I offered her a hand, and she pushed me away, so I left her there. I heard a loud splash a minute later, but I just kept walking. I let her drown, because if I couldn't have her, no one else would." Emma dropped her jaw. David, you saw her fall. You could have saved her. Yes, David replied simply, turning to Emma. But I didn't push her. And the phone says we need to find out who pushed her, which leaves only one person left in this room. David, Mark, and Chloe all slowly turned their heads. Their eyes locked directly onto Emma. The phone in her hand began to vibrate continuously, glowing with a bright, blood-red text. Emma, your turn. No. No, this is a massive mistake, Emma cried out, taking a step back as her three old friends slowly closed the distance around her. You all know me. Sarah was my best friend, my roommate. I loved her like a sister. I would never, ever hurt a single hair on her head. Then why are you sweating so much, Emma? Mark asked, his lawyer instincts completely taking over his panic. He pointed at the glowing red screen. The anonymous person running this stream knows everything. They knew about my affair. They knew about Chloe's photos. They knew David left her to die. And now the finger is pointing directly at you. You are the last one. Go on, Emma, Chloe hissed, wiping the tears from her cheeks, her voice turning malicious. Tell the 3 million people watching us what a perfect, loyal best friend you were. Step up to the camera right now. Emma felt completely trapped. The walls of the old villa seemed to be closing in on her. The heavy rain outside sounded like 1,000 footsteps trying to get in. She walked over to the grandfather clock, her legs feeling like heavy lead. She looked into the tiny, cold red light of the camera. I didn't do it, Emma whispered, tears finally streaming down her face. That night, Sarah found out that I had applied for the same prestigious art scholarship in Paris. There was only one spot available. She accused me of stealing her portfolio designs. We had a huge argument in the kitchen before she ran outside to the pier. I followed her because I wanted to apologize. I wanted to tell her that the scholarship didn't matter to me. And then what happened, Emma? David asked, his voice dark and demanding. When I reached the pier, she was already standing at the edge. Emma sobbed, her voice breaking completely. She was screaming at the lake. I reached out to touch her shoulder. She startled, slipped on the wet, mossy wood, and fell backwards into the water. I didn't push her. It was an accident. I panicked because I knew how it would look. I knew everyone would think I did it for the scholarship. So I ran back to the house and pretended I knew nothing. The room fell into a heavy silence. The three friends stared at her, trying to decide if they believed her story. Emma looked down at the phone, waiting for the verdict from the anonymous host. The phone didn't buzz. Instead, a metallic, distorted electronic voice suddenly blasted directly from the hidden camera inside the grandfather clock. 4 confessions. 4 beautiful, dirty little lies. You all think you are safe because you painted yourselves as mere bystanders. But the audience has made its decision. The chat voting is complete, and the final evidence will now be revealed. Look at the main TV screen in the living room. Chloe screamed as the massive, dusty television screen on the wall suddenly flashed to life, cutting through the darkness of the room with a bright, blinding white light. A video began to play. It was shot from a high angle, high up in the pine trees overlooking the pier from 10 years ago. The quality was grainy, but the figures were unmistakable. It showed Sarah standing at the edge of the pier in the pouring rain. And then a shadow approached her from behind. Emma felt her breath catch in her throat. The shadow on the screen didn't just touch Sarah's shoulder. The shadow deliberately raised both hands and violently pushed Sarah straight into the freezing, dark water below. But as the camera zoomed in on the face of the killer, Emma gasped. It wasn't her face. It wasn't Mark, Chloe, or David either. The person on the screen was Sarah herself. "What? What am I looking at?" Mark whispered, his eyes wide, stepping closer to the massive television screen. "That's Sarah. But who is the other person? Why do they look exactly like her?" On the grainy video, the figure who had pushed Sarah turned around to face the camera in the trees. It was a girl with the exact same face, the same hair, and the same height. She smiled a cold, terrifying smile directly into the lens, then walked away into the dark woods, leaving Sarah to drown in the freezing lake. Chloe backed away, her hands pressed against her mouth. Sarah didn't have a twin sister, did she? Emma, you lived with her for 2 years. Did she ever mention a twin? "No!" Emma shouted, her mind spinning in complete chaos. She was an only child. Her parents passed away in a car crash when she was a kid. She didn't have anyone else. This video makes no sense. It's impossible. "Unless," David murmured, his voice sending a cold shiver down everyone's spine. "Unless the girl who drowned that night wasn't the real Sarah." The phone on the dining table pinged one more time. Emma forced herself to walk over and read the new message aloud. "The puzzle is almost complete. You four were so consumed by your own greed, jealousy, and lust that you never truly looked at the girl you called your friend. You never noticed the small details, the scars, the changes in her voice. Tonight, the host of this stream is finally coming home. Open the basement door." A loud, heavy click echoed from the far corner of the room. The wooden door leading down into the dark basement slowly swung open on its rusty hinges, revealing a pitch-black staircase. A cold, damp wind rushed up from below, smelling of old mud and lake water. "I'm ending this right now," Mark barked, picking up a heavy iron poker from the fireplace. "I don't care who is down there. I'm not going to let some internet psychopath ruin my life on a live stream." "Mark, wait. Don't go down there alone," Emma called out. But it was too late. Mark was already marching down the wooden stairs, his footsteps echoing heavily in the dark. David and Chloe followed closely behind, driven by a desperate need for answers. Emma had no choice but to follow them into the dark abyss. The basement was large, filled with old, broken furniture and covered in thick cobwebs. But in the center of the room, a modern, professional streaming setup was illuminated by bright neon LED lights. There were multiple monitors showing the live chat, audio mixers, and the main camera feed from upstairs. Sitting in a large leather gaming chair, with her back turned to them, was a woman with long, dark hair. "Stand up! Turn around right now!" Mark yelled, raising the iron poker high in the air. "Show your face, you coward!" The leather chair slowly rotated around. The bright neon lights illuminated her face. Mark dropped the iron poker. Chloe shrieked and fell to her knees. David took a step back, tripping over a box. The woman sitting in the chair was Sarah. She looked exactly as she had 10 years ago, without a single wrinkle or a single gray hair. She looked alive, healthy, and completely untouched by time. "Sarah?" Emma whispered, her heart completely stopping. "But how? I saw your body at the funeral. I saw you in the coffin." The woman in the chair smiled, tilting her head. "Oh, Emma, you always were the blindest of them all. You saw a body, yes, but you never truly looked at it." 10 years, the woman said, her voice smooth, sounding exactly like the Sarah they all remembered. She stood up from the leather chair, stepping into the center of the cold basement. "For 10 long years, you all lived your perfect lives. Mark became a wealthy lawyer. Chloe became an influencer. David hid in his poetry. And Emma, you got that scholarship to Paris, didn't you? Built on the lie of my death." "Who are you?" Emma screamed, tears of pure confusion blurring her vision. "Sarah is dead. I know she is dead. Tell us who you are." The woman laughed, a cold, dry sound that echoed off the concrete walls. "My name is Lily. I am Sarah's identical twin sister, her secret twin. Our parents didn't die in a normal accident, Emma. They were deeply in debt to dangerous people. When they died, they split us up to protect us. Sarah went to an orphanage. I was adopted by a family in Europe. We didn't even know about each other until our college years." Lily walked over to one of the monitors, pointing at the live viewer count, which had now reached an astonishing 5 million people. 10 years ago, Sarah called me," Lily continued, her eyes turning dark with anger. "She told me she was trapped. She told me her boyfriend was a monster who got her pregnant and threatened her. She told me her friend Chloe was destroying her life with online harassment. She told me David was stalking her. And she told me her best friend Emma was stealing her art to win a scholarship. She was losing her mind." "So you came here that night," David whispered, his face pale. "Yes," Lily hissed. "We met on the pier. We had a plan to switch places for a week so I could help her deal with all of you. But Sarah was too broken. She didn't want to switch. She wanted to escape completely. She looked at me, told me she couldn't live in this world anymore, and she begged me to push her. She wanted me to take over her life, to inherit her identity, and to punish you all. The video you saw? It was a staged plan. I pushed her because she demanded to die. She wanted to be free." Emma felt her knees shaking. "So, the girl who drowned was the real Sarah. And you lived as Sarah for the last 10 years? "No," Lily said, her smile widening into something truly terrifying. Lily suddenly reached up to her neck. She grabbed the edge of her skin near her collarbone and pulled. With a gruesome, synthetic tearing sound, she peeled off a highly advanced, ultra-thin silicone mask. Behind the mask was not a young woman. It was a man. A middle-aged man with sharp, cold eyes and a scarred face. "Sarah and Lily are both dead," the man said, his real voice deep and terrifying. "They both drowned that night. Lily tried to save her, but they both went under. My name is Detective Thomas. I was the lead investigator on Sarah's case 10 years ago. I knew you all were lying back then. I found the camera in the trees. I found the truth. But I couldn't convict you because Mark destroyed the evidence and you all kept your mouths shut. The man pointed to the glowing monitors, his voice booming loud and commanding. For 10 years, I planned this. This isn't a random internet stream. This is a federal broadcast. The police are already outside the villa doors. Your confessions were just broadcasted to 5 million people, including the district attorney. You thought you escaped the past. But tonight, the past finally caught up with you. Above them, the heavy oak doors of the villa were violently smashed open. The loud, piercing sirens of police cars echoed through the dark woods, red and blue lights flashing through the basement windows. The game was over. The truth had won.